In World War II, victory rarely depended on a single isolated factor. It emerged from the combination of industrial decisions, strategic choices, and above all, the real experience of the ordinary soldier on the battlefield. In the mud, the cold, and the deafening noise of gunfire, there was no room for theory or improvisation. What worked survived. What failed was quickly abandoned, often at the cost of thousands of lives. Germany entered the war believing it possessed one of the most efficient armies in the world. Its soldiers were disciplined, well-trained, and equipped with weapons respected by both allies and enemies. In the early years of the conflict, that confidence seemed unshakable. Rapid advances, impressive victories, and a reputation that inspired fear even before the fighting began. But war does not reward only those who start strong. It favors those who can adapt. Meanwhile, the United States was watching, learning, and producing. The American approach was not based solely on tactical brilliance or military tradition, but on something far more practical, giving the ordinary soldier a real and constant advantage. The goal was not to create supermen, but to ensure that at the decisive moment, the soldier had better conditions to react, advance, and survive. This quiet mindset would prove devastating. When American troops began to face German forces directly in Europe, something unusual started to stand out in combat. It was not just about numbers or logistical support, it was the tempo of the fight. American soldiers seemed able to maintain constant pressure, even in situations where the enemy expected a natural pause. At first, this difference was subtle. Soon, it became impossible to ignore. German soldiers, experienced and accustomed to dominating the battlefield, began to report something unsettling. In moments when they expected to reload and reorganize, enemy fire simply did not stop. Advances that should have been contained turned into forced retreats. The sense of control began to slip away, and the more these encounters repeated themselves, the clearer it became that this was no coincidence. The source of this shift was not a revolutionary tactic or a brilliant commander appearing out of nowhere. It was in the hands of the American soldier, a weapon that did not look impressive on paper, but proved brutally effective in real combat. A weapon designed to function under extreme stress, in the worst possible conditions, without demanding perfection from the man using it. In the chaos of war, reliability is power. Every time a soldier had to interrupt combat to manually reload, precious seconds were lost, often along with the initiative. On the other side, there were soldiers who could keep pushing forward, maintaining pressure and controlling space. This difference created not only a technical advantage, but a psychological one. The enemy felt the constant weight of threat, with no room to breathe. Over time, this disparity accumulated, not in a single decisive battle, but across hundreds of smaller engagements that together shaped the course of the war. American confidence grew, while German surprise turned into frustration. Infantry warfare was changing, and some realized it far too late. By the end of the conflict, many veterans would acknowledge that they were not facing just well-trained soldiers, but a more efficient combat system, a system that gave the ordinary soldier a constant advantage. At the center of that change was a weapon that perfectly represented the American mindset: practical, reliable, and unforgiving when it mattered most. If you want to understand why the M1 Garand became a true terror for German forces, and how this weapon helped the United States gain a decisive advantage in the war, stay until the end of the video. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and follow the full story. Because what comes next explains far more than a single weapon. When the M1 Garand began reaching the hands of American soldiers, few fully understood the impact it would have on the battlefield. It was not the lightest weapon, nor the most elegant, and certainly not the cheapest. But it carried a powerful idea. The ordinary soldier needed to be ready to fire again immediately, without long pauses, complex movements, or ideal conditions. In real combat, that philosophy proved brutally effective. While many armies still relied on bolt-action rifles that required manual cycling after each shot, the M1 Garand allowed the American soldier to fire 8 rounds rapidly and smoothly. This completely changed the tempo of engagements. In situations where the enemy expected a natural pause, none came. Fire continued, pressure increased, and advances became possible. German soldiers, accustomed to exploiting those pauses to reposition or counterattack, began facing an uncomfortable reality. What had worked before simply stopped working. Every second lost operating the bolt of a traditional rifle could be decisive. The M1 Garand did not eliminate the dangers of war, but it dramatically reduced hesitation at critical moments. Beyond its rate of fire, there was reliability. The M1 Garand was designed to operate in harsh environments: mud, dust, rain, and extreme cold. It did not require constant maintenance during combat or delicate handling. For a soldier under intense stress, that reliability meant confidence. Knowing the weapon would respond when needed made a difference not only in combat effectiveness, but in morale. That confidence translated directly into behavior. American troops advanced with greater determination, held positions under pressure, and reacted faster to sudden threats. Not because they were braver, but because they had better tools to act decisively. Modern warfare was revealing that even small technological advantages could accumulate into overwhelming effects over time. On the German side, the situation was paradoxical. Germany possessed highly advanced and impressive weapons on paper, but many were complex, difficult to mass produce, and required extensive training. The M1 Garand, by contrast, was standardized, mass-produced, and issued to nearly every American infantryman. This uniformity created a dangerous consistency for the enemy to face. Each engagement reinforced this imbalance. In ambushes, urban combat, or direct firefights, the ability to maintain continuous fire gave American soldiers an immediate practical advantage. The M1 Garand was not a miracle weapon, but it was perfectly suited to the realities of industrial warfare. And in a global conflict, that mattered more than sophisticated but limited solutions. The rifle also symbolized something larger: the industrial strength of the United States, producing millions of reliable weapons, distributing them rapidly, and keeping them operational at the front, was a clear demonstration of logistical power. While other nations struggled to sustain their arsenals, the United States delivered consistency. And in war, consistency is power. Over time, this advantage became firmly established, not through a single decisive battle, but through the accumulation of countless smaller encounters. The M1 Garand became part of the American soldier's identity, alongside the helmet and uniform. It represented the idea that the individual soldier was not alone, but backed by a system that worked. By the end of the war, it was clear that American superiority did not come solely from numbers or isolated strategic decisions. It emerged from the combination of industry, pragmatism, and a focus on the ordinary soldier. The M1 Garand did not win the war by itself, but it was one of the elements that made victory possible. A simple-looking weapon with decisive impact in practice. Looking back at World War II, it is tempting to search for a single weapon, a single battle, or one decisive moment that explains the outcome. But the reality of the war was quieter and far more unforgiving. Victory was built through accumulation, through repeated choices, practical solutions, and advantages applied day after day. The M1 Garand fits perfectly into this kind of victory, not dramatic, but constant. It did not win battles on its own. It did not end the war in a single strike, and it rarely appeared in grand speeches. Yet it was present in nearly every fight involving American infantry. In forests, ruined cities, open fields, and improvised trenches, it worked. And in war, working matters more than impressing. While other armies invested in complex weapons or solutions that looked advanced on paper, the United States followed a different path. Reliability, standardization, and operational simplicity became priorities. The M1 Garand reflected that mindset perfectly. It did not demand perfection from the soldier, only that he be there, fighting. For German forces, facing troops equipped this way meant confronting an enemy that rarely gave room for error. Constant pressure, faster tempo, and fewer predictable pauses changed the rhythm of combat. It was not just about firepower, but about initiative. And whoever controls the initiative controls the fight. This advantage rarely appeared on maps or in strategic reports. It showed itself in an extra second to advance, one more shot before a retreat, or the confidence to hold a position just a little longer. Small differences that, over years of fighting, tilted the balance in a decisive way. The M1 Garand also symbolized something beyond the rifle itself. It represented the ability of the United States to turn industry into real power, planning into execution, and logistics into sustained advantage. It was not about having the most advanced weapon, but about ensuring that the right weapon reached every soldier who needed it. When the war ended, it was clear that American victory was not the result of chance. It was built through pragmatism, adaptation, and an understanding of what truly mattered on the battlefield. The M1 Garand was not a myth created after the conflict. It was a real tool used by real men under extreme conditions. For many veterans, the rifle became an extension of the fight itself, a symbol of survival and steady forward movement, not of glory, but of necessity. And perhaps that is why its legacy remains so strong today. Understanding the importance of the M1 Garand is understanding how modern wars are truly won, not only through grand strategies, but through practical solutions applied millions of times. It is in these details that history stops being abstract and becomes human, concrete, and undeniable. If this video helped you see World War II from a new perspective, leave a like and comment what you thought about the story. Your support helps the channel continue bringing historical content with depth, respect, and focus on what truly made the difference.